Have you ever scrolled through Instagram, got stressed out by all the lavish lifestyles, and it just kind of looks like every 20-year-old you see is rich and has six-pack abs? Honestly, most of it's an absolute lie. Becoming a millionaire is not as common as the internet would have you believe, and it definitely doesn't happen as quick as they make you think. But it's actually not as hard as you may think. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact steps to take to become a millionaire by the age of 40. I'm Justin Green, certified financial planner who works with individuals and families in their 30s and 40s who are trying to become millionaire next doors. Did you know that the average millionaire takes 28 years and reaches that status at an average of 49 years old, according to a Ramsey millionaire study? Admittedly, this was done back in 2017, 2018, so the numbers are a little outdated, but it was the best sample set that I could find to show how long it actually takes to become a millionaire. And actually, if you go back a little bit farther to 1996, Thomas Stanley wrote and published this book, The Millionaire Next Door, which is an amazing book. It's one of my favorite books. Highly recommend that you read this. But in this book, he goes through and interviews and surveys a bunch of millionaires on their spending habits, saving habits, etc. And what he found was that the average millionaire was 57 years old. Now, this makes sense because back in 1996, $1 million was a lot more than what it is today just because of inflation over the last 20 years. So his number was a little bit higher than Ramsey, but that does make sense based on inflation. Now, all of this is just to show you that it takes time to become a millionaire. Stop stressing out, and let's go through the exact steps that you need to take to become a millionaire yourself. Now, before we can do that, we do have to define what is a millionaire, because I see online all sorts of definitions that get this wrong. If you make $1 million in your business and top line revenue, you are not a millionaire. If you bring home $1 million in income, you are also not a millionaire. A millionaire is someone who has $1 million in net worth. And your net worth is a simple calculation based off the value of your assets minus the value of your liabilities. Now, generally speaking, net worth would include the equity you have in a primary residence or your home. But for the concept of this video, I actually want to exclude that. And I want to focus on what's called liquid net worth, which would be the value of your assets that are readily accessible to you, such as cash, 401ks, brokerage accounts, etc. And if you stay tuned all the way to the end, you'll see why I did this. So the very first thing we need to do is figure out how you're going to manage your cash flow. I like to look at this as a cash flow funnel. And let me show this to you. Okay, so I've got the cash flow funnel pulled up here. And where I want to actually start is in the middle, the income section, because whether you're a young professional or a business owner, you're going to have income. Now, if you're a business owner, there's more to this equation. So let's just start here and we'll back it up. But your income is going to hit, and then you're going to have your fixed living expenses, and you're going to have your savings percentage. Now, that might be zero right now, and that's okay. We're going to work on that. But those are the two that need to come out of your income first. And then what flows down is now what's called your flex spending. This is just your discretionary, your fun spending. You can spend this on whatever the heck you want. So if you're a business owner, let's go back up to the top. So your top part of your funnel is actually your revenue. And then you're going to have business expenses that come out of that. And you need to set aside money for your taxes because it's not going to be withheld. You're not getting paid a paycheck. Once you do that, then you're going to have your take-home pay, which will then become your income. So now, as a business owner, we're on the same part of the funnel as any other individual in your same age bracket. Now we're looking at your income. And like I said, you need to take out your savings percentage, your fixed living expenses, and that'll flow down to your flexible spending. Now, this is a very simplified, high-level view of looking at your cash flow, but it's so important to actually take the step to figure out what are your business expenses? What are you paying in taxes? Do you know what your savings rate is? And what are your fixed living expenses? That's going to be your house, so your rent, your mortgage, your car insurance, your student loans, your utilities, your groceries, etc. Like those are the things that you're going to pay each and every month just to basically live. So if you have children, it's going to be children's costs, expenses, etc. So you want to make sure that's all included there. And then the flex is going to be what are you actually spending outside of that? Now, I want to explain something about this that looks a little bit different than what you might actually think of your cash flow as. So most people will actually do revenue down to income, they'll have their fixed living expenses come out, their flex would be here, and whatever's left over, they would save. Now, the problem with that is Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is usually spoken about in terms of time. So if you procrastinate, Parkinson's law kind of states that a task will take you as much time as you allot to it. This kind of works for money as well, right? So if you actually try and wait to the end of the month and save what you have left, the reality is you're probably going to have spent all that money already, because you're going to open up your bank account, you're going to see there's some cash available, and you're going to go eat out, or you're going to go hang out with friends, you're going to go to the bar, you're going to buy this, you're going to do that. So we actually want to go and save this money first, which leads us to our second point, is save first and automate as much as possible. All of my clients, they have their savings automated. So on a certain day of the month, often the first of the month, money will flow into their investment accounts automatically. So you see, I get these notifications, money is coming in. It's not that my clients are going in and moving money over on the first of the month. It's that we've set this up so it automatically moves into their investment accounts, and then I get it invested for them so it's off their plate. Now, I have clients who will do the investments on their own, but we still do the automating the savings part, because then it's just easier for them. They just have that extra step of making sure the money actually gets invested, which leads us to the third point. Saving is not going to be enough to get you to be a millionaire. So most savings accounts earn about 0.03% in interest. If you're smart, you would have a high yield savings account, and this will get you about 3.5% to 4% on that money right now. This fluctuates based on interest rates, but right now in mid 2025, this will get you about 3.5% to 4%. That's still not going to be enough to build wealth over the long term. You're going to have to invest that money in long-term growth opportunities. My favorite being low-cost index funds in the stock market. It's just my bread and butter. I think, especially as a business owner or a busy professional, I have the time to go chasing real estate, and everyone likes to pretend that real estate's a passive investment opportunity, but the reality is it's another job. Like you're having a full-time job when you start investing in real estate and rental properties. And so most of my clients and the people I work with just don't have the time for that. So they need the laziest, most efficient way of investing, to be completely honest with you. Now, if you invest in the stock market over the long term, you can reasonably expect an assumption of 8% return. Now, this isn't guaranteed, but it's a good assumption for projecting out how much money you need to save and how much money you will have in the future. So we are going to use 8% in these examples moving forward. Now, it is important to note you have many different options for the types of accounts that you can save into, but we're not really going to dive into that in this video. But just know that there are three main buckets that you can choose. There's the tax deferred. So this means that you don't pay taxes on it now, it'll grow tax-free, but when you withdraw those accounts, then you are going to be taxed on it. There's tax-free. That means you're going to get taxed now. This is kind of your Roth, if you've ever heard the term Roth. You're going to get taxed now, it's going to grow tax-free, and you're going to withdraw it tax-free. And then the other one is taxable. So basically, you put money in it after you've been taxed this year, it's going to grow, you're going to pay taxes on that growth in the year that you get that. So for example, a brokerage account, if you add money to it and you get interest and dividends in that year paid out to you, you're going to pay those taxes in that year. And then when you sell those investments in the future, if there is a gain, you will have capital gains or losses. It's just important to understand there's three different types of buckets that you can invest in. For the sake of this video, we're not going to go into which ones to invest in, but just know that they all serve a purpose and they all fit into your financial plan. And how you fill up these buckets actually really depends on your tax situation now and in the future. So it's hard to say fill up this one first or fill up this one always. It really doesn't work that way. You have to fluctuate based on where your tax rates are, because you're kind of playing the tax arbitrage game. The fourth one is consistency. It's going to take time. This is not going to happen overnight. You need years and years of saving and investing to see the compound results that you're going to need to become a millionaire. Unless you're making $3 million a year and you're able to put $1 million in, which obviously that happens in a year, you hit that goal. But the reality is most of you are going to be in that like $250,000 to $500,000 of annual household income. And so if we were to take a look at a few examples to see how long it's going to take and how much you need to save, that's what we're going to take a look at here. Okay, so let's take a look at two examples. What I'm bringing up here is what's called a time value of money calculator. And basically all this does is it's a calculation of how much money you're able to add each month with an interest rate and figure out in how long will that be worth X amount. So walking through the scenario here, you're starting with $0. So this scenario is it's an individual making $250,000, saving 20%, which is $50,000 a year. But obviously you're not going to be doing that annually. You're going to do it monthly. So what we've done is we've broken that down into $4,167 a month. Ignore the negative. That's just kind of how the calculation works. What we want to know is in the future, how long will it take you to get to $1 million? We're going to use an 8% annual rate of return as we discussed earlier. This is not guaranteed, but it's a good assumption and it should help us get to a pretty conservative estimate. Now, what we don't know yet is how many periods this is going to take you. And then we want it to compound monthly because you're adding monthly. So let's click this and we're going to find out. So 144 periods. Now, these essentially mean months. So if you divide that by 12, it's going to take you 12 years to have $1 million in investable assets in your accounts. Now, that's if you're making $250,000 and you're able to save at 20%, which with a young family may not be possible. So what I actually want to do is completely flip this example and say, okay, if you're only making $100,000 and you're saving 20%, that's $20,000 a year. Or you could look at this a little bit differently. You could be making that same $250,000, but you're actually only saving about 8% of your income, which would be lower than normally recommended. But let's just take a look. Okay, so going through this example, $0 present value, but we're only going to add $1,667 a month, which is $20,000 a year. We want to see how long it's going to take you to get to $1 million. We're using 8% again. 242. So if we put that into a calculator, divide that by 12, we have a little over 20 years. So if you were to do this for 20 years, you'd have $1 million. That's pretty doable probably for the average 30-year-old. So if you were to start saving at 20 years old and you came out of college, let's say at 21, and you were to save a little over $1,667 a month, invested it, you could be a millionaire by the age of 40. Now, realistically, you're probably going to need to save more because you're going to start saving a little bit later. So if you were to start using this example, start saving and investing a significantly larger portion, but only 20% of your income, which is a good savings rate. It's a target savings rate. Hyper aggressive savers go well beyond that, but 20% would be very good. If you were saving 20% for 12 years, so you could get started at 28 years old. This is how you would become a millionaire by the age of 40. But why does it matter if you're there by 40? It doesn't. As long as you have a game plan for how much you need to save, therefore you can reach your goal in the future to have the flexibility and freedom to do whatever you want. And that's why having a financial plan is so important to make sure that you are doing everything you can today to reach your future financial goals. Because if you wait until the future to start trying to figure this out, it could be too late. You've seen the impact of compounding and how time is on your side. You have to start as early as possible towards these goals. If you want to see a case study of how an online health and fitness coach making around $10,000 a month of revenue is building wealth outside of her business, go ahead, click this next video and see how she's doing it.